A heavy experience to carry? Did she find it a heavy experience? But did you? There were times when you'd probably be at home and you could see her reflecting on it in pain.
Definitely, definitely. I suppose we were all affected by the situation, and neither one of us received any sort of counselling around that situation. So therefore, you could say we all kind of suffered in silence. In if you know, to put it bluntly, but Mum was always more concerned with her children more than herself. So we would never really see, or she would never really express how she felt. You may just pick up on it in the sense of her moods, but she would never really, you know, express that, because I think she's always conscious and aware of how we may feel about it.
So even in her pain and in her disability, she's making sure that you guys are all right.
Yeah, I mean, I give you an example of the type of person that my mum was. When the incident happened, and you know, we'll go into details about what really happened that day, right? But when the incident happened, when she was actually going into the ambulance at the time, I was looking at the window that day, and I was, as you can imagine, I was emotional and hysterical about the situation. And she looked at me and smiled and waved, just to give me the indication that, don't worry, I'm all right.
Hold on a minute. This is a woman being shot in her house by a policeman.
Yep.
Through the chest.
Yep.
And she took time out to look up to the window and smile and wave.
Yep.
What did you do when she did that? Can you remember?
At that point, because it's funny, I was 11 years old, right? And there was times when I knew she had been shot, and then there's other times when I thought she hadn't been shot and she had been pushed. So therefore, at that particular moment in time, I felt like she was all right. So I didn't believe she had actually got shot when she done that. So I felt a little bit more at ease when I saw her do that, until later on I got to understand the extent of the situation.
Was Mum a God-fearing woman, community type woman? Was she community spirited?
My mum was a very spiritual person, first and foremost. My mum was the type of person that even before and after her accident, she took in people. You know,
How you mean? Like people to come and live in the house?
People come to live in our house. People, you know, that, you know, may have been going through problems, you know, so on and so forth. You know, I just remember there would be people that would come and stay at our house. Our house is like a little halfway house at times. Yeah, because that's the kind of heart that my mum had. And even after the accident, she still used to do things like that. There's people who have been coming to the house, and I can't even count on my 10 fingers, yeah, that actually would have spent some period of time in my house, living with us. Some people all couple of years that would have lived in my house, because that's how my mum was. She'd have friends that was having problems with their children, like their daughter or something. And my mum would say, let them stay here for a while. That's the kind of person she was.
That's some old Jamaican community type spirit, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So she was like that before the incident, or was that after?
But both. She was like that before the incident, and she was like that after the incident. That's, you know, she's been very consistent with who she is.
8 children. You're the youngest, right?
Second to youngest.
Second to youngest.
Yeah.
8 children. How does a woman who's wheelchair bound raise, or was she like the leader of the family?
Definitely. You know, I remember after the incident, because a lot of people don't know what happened after that incident. So Mum went to St Thomas's Hospital, and she spent probably about 6 months in St Thomas's, and then she went to a place called Stoke Mandeville, and that's where they rehabilitate you. You know, they teach you how to, to become independent, to be independent in a wheelchair. So she was there for probably another 6 months. So she was in hospital for about a year after the incident. And my mum was very determined to come home and just get back to being a mother. That was her objective. And I remember moving to our new home, and we didn't even have a bed, a sofa. It was just carpet on the floor. But my mum was so determined to come home that we slept on the floor until we eventually started to get furniture. Like, furniture was ordered, but, we had to wait for them to be delivered and so on and so forth. And my mum cooked. She would clean. She would hoover in her wheelchair. I'm telling you, she would hoover in her wheelchair.
How do you hoover in a wheelchair?
Listen, trust me, my mum found a way, because she was very particular, and if you didn't do things properly, she would say, let me show you how to do it. So she wanted to see the lines in the carpet when she was hoovering.
like a football pitch line.
Right. So that's what she was like. Do you know what I mean? Fully independent. After that incident, I'd say for the first 10 years, I didn't have to do much for my mum. In the sense of, the caring. She could transfer, she can get off her bed into her wheelchair, she can go in the kitchen, she can cook. She could do mostly everything for herself, apart from obviously maybe going to the shops or whatever. So she was very independent after that incident, very independent. And it's just after a certain amount of time, certain illnesses related to the incident that,
took its toll.
And then she became more and more sort of bedbound.
Okay. Let me ask you something. Before she became more dependent on help, when she was still independent, did she beat you?
No, but she didn't have to. Listen, right. My mum had the biggest heart in the world, but the rawest mouth when she was ready, right? So my mum would just have to speak 2 words, and you stand to attention. Do you know what I mean? So she, discipline wise, trust me, anyone that knows my mum would know the kind of person that she was. She just, she had that. She commanded respect. That's how she was.
Didn't demand it. She commanded
it.
Her actions spoke for themselves.
Definitely.
I'm just amazed that someone would go through that experience. I'm trying to visualize somebody. There's people, for example, the people in the 7/7 blast in London, the terrorist blast, where there were some people actively seeking compensation and actively seeking justice, that type of thing. So that's the culture we live in now. I'm actually amazed that somebody, an innocent person, would be shot by a police officer, be crippled because of it, and not really concerned with the compensation side of things, but more focusing on getting the family back on track and leading the family into some righteous living. You know what I mean? For me, in this day and age, I find that to be commendable. And she probably can't hear. She's probably smiling now. So, this is Lightning FM. This is God's Talk Show. In the studio, we have Brandy Lee, the son of Sherry Groce, who is the lady who was shot by police in Brixton in 1985, which sparked the second Brixton riots. Never done an interview before. His mother never done an interview. We were actually planning something, weren't we?
That's ironic. And I wonder now, everything, one of my mom's favourite sayings, everything is for a reason, nothing happens before the time. Yeah. And it's funny that I reached out to you, and that's the reason why when I wanted to speak, I called you, because I called you before this all happened. you know. And it's funny because when I called you, obviously my motivation for honouring my mum for what she's been through was that I wanted to do it while she was still alive. That was my main goal. So, as you can imagine, you know, that hurts even more to know that I didn't get to do it in time. But at the same time, I'm glad that we was putting it into plan, you know, and I'm not sitting there thinking about it now as an afterthought.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to do that now, to say, oh, let's do this, let's do that when the person's gone. Do you understand? But my thing was, I wanted to recognise my mum and appreciate her for who she was while she was still alive, because I thought that was very important to do it then. And at the time, even I spoke to my mum about it, and I said to her, Mum, I want to do this thing. How do you feel about it? And she said, Lee, I got to think about it. Yeah.
So I got to think about it. Did
Yeah.
BBC get to think about it?
Nobody got to think about it.
Okay, only Lightning got to think about it. All right.
So then I said, then she come back to me. She said, all right, you know, go ahead. You know what I mean? And that's when I contacted you, and we started to put certain plans in operation. So as I said, I felt it only fitting to come and do this interview with you, considering you was the person I spoke to about doing this tribute to my mum when she was alive. So,
I think what's powerful about that is some people go, when they have an extreme emotional experience, right? They go into autopilot. So they probably didn't have any affection for the person, or they were distant. They didn't have much contact. Then something tragic happens, and then all of a sudden they're the best friend, and they were the best daughter, best son, best uncle, best auntie, that type of stuff. People can do that. But the fact that you approached me before shows that you weren't waiting for no intense emotional experience to make you realize who you were and what this wonderful woman had done for you. You were thinking about that while she was there, while you were living that experience. To me, I find that commendable, because there's a lot of people around me that I see on a daily basis that don't think like that. So, you know, applauds to you. If you'd like to send a text, or you'd like to send a comment in your text, or ask a question via text at the moment, the phone lines are not open for live calls, but you can comment via text. Send us a text on 07944. That's 07944 254908. That's 07944 254908. I'm in the studio with Brandy Lee, After Dark's, well, one of us After Dark's finest. I think all of them are quite fine. Not that kind of fine, don't get twisted, but you know what I mean. One of the crew, one of us, the son of Sherry Groce, and we're speaking about Sherry Groce. And when we come back after this, we'll speak about what happened on that day in '85, and we'll also speak about what Brandy Lee wishes to do now, what he wishes you to get involved with now to celebrate the memory of his mother, and how she handled herself in this tumultuous experience.
God's Talk Show.
A shockwave hits France.
L'actualité de ce dimanche, ce coup de tonnerre pour la classe politique
A
française.
TF1 anchor in France announces that Dominique Strauss-Kahn, head of the International Monetary Fund and possible socialist presidential contender, is arrested in New York on sexual assault charges. New York police said that Strauss-Kahn was arrested on charges of a criminal sexual act, attempted rape, and unlawful imprisonment. 32-year-old maid filed the complaint after fleeing a $3,000 a night hotel suite at the Sofitel in Times Square. Strauss-Kahn faced controversy before. In 2008, he apologized for, quote, an error of judgment after an affair with a female IMF economist who was his subordinate.
God's Talk Show.
After the killing of al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, the Taliban vowed revenge. And on Friday, they